Good evening and welcome to Primetime News, coming to you live and direct from the Newsfirst studios here in Colombo. I'm Bernadine Jayasinghe. Let's now take a look at headlines.
South African strain of COVID-19 virus detected in the country. Petition filed with the Supreme Court seeking legal action against the sugar scam. Finance Secretary denies losses caused by reducing the sugar import levy. Sri Lanka Freedom Party requests action against the perpetrators of the sugar scam. 3 lives lost due to wild elephant attacks in the last 24 hours. President informed about the shortage of tamed elephants.
A South African variant of the COVID-19 virus was detected in the country today. Dr. Chandima Jeevandara, the director of the Department of Immunology and Molecular Medicine of the University of Sri Jayawardenepura, said that an individual had been identified with the new COVID-19 variant in the country.
Dr. Chandima Jeevandara said that an individual undergoing quarantine upon returning from Tanzania had tested positive for the new variant of the COVID-19 virus. Several variants of the COVID-19 virus have been detected across the world. Among them is the UK variant and the South African variant. We have identified 5 variants of concern in Sri Lanka so far. 4 of them relate to the UK variant. The 5th, which is the South African variant, also known as the B1351 variant, was detected for the first time in the country today. All 5 variants of concern have been detected in quarantine centers. Those diagnosed with the 5 variants of concern are those who had arrived from overseas. Measures have been implemented to ensure these variants will not spread beyond the quarantine centers. Dr. Chandima Jeevandara said that samples from 93 individuals from the Colombo city limits, Avisawella, Kuruvita, Biyagama, Matale, Rattota, Kalutara and Mahiyangana had been tested in the last month.
Former chairman of COP Sunil Handurnethi filed a petition with the Supreme Court of Sri Lanka today, seeking an order to be made on the Attorney General to institute legal action against those responsible for the government losing more than 15.95 billion rupees in tax revenue by granting tax relief on sugar imports to the country.
Finance Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa, Finance Secretary S.R. Artigala, Director of Pyramid Wilma Sajad Mauzoon, President Secretary P.B. Jasundara, Chairman of the Consumer Affairs Authority Major General Shanta Desanayake and the Attorney General, among others, were named as respondents in the petition. The petitioner seeks an order to be made on the Attorney General to institute legal action against those responsible for causing the losses to the state, adding the Finance Secretary and the other respondents had violated the fundamental rights of the people by failing to prevent such corrupt activity. Further, the petitioner requests the Supreme Court to order Finance Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa and the respondents to take necessary measures to recover the losses and to recover rupees 500 million as compensation. According to the Finance Ministry estimates, the government has been derived of tax revenue amounting to 15.9 billion rupees. But that's not all. The stocks of sugar that were imported during this period were sold to Satosa at a higher rate. The sugar that cost 84 rupees and 50 cents was sold at prices ranging between 110 and 127 rupees. Just as the EPF funds were looted in the central bank bond scam, money from the sugar scam have been looted through Satosa. We request the Supreme Court to look into this matter and punish those responsible for a criminal offence. We have all heard of Andre, the jester, and how he ate the sugar that belonged to his king. But the present-day Andres have eaten sugar worth 15.9 billion rupees. In other words, they've destroyed the benefit that could have been passed to the general public. Meanwhile, Finance Secretary S.R. Artigala has dismissed claims that the reduction of an import levy on sugar had resulted in losses to the country.
Sugar had been imported to the country from the 13th of October last year to the 10th of February. We did not receive tax revenue worth 49.75 rupees for a kilo of sugar. But that does not mean that we have lost revenue. That is the policy. But 60,000 metric tons of sugar had been imported to the country from the 9th of February to the 10th of March. If that is the case, the purported losses must be multiplied by 49.75 rupees to calculate the profit. The cost of sugar has reduced from 135 to 114 rupees. How did that happen? That happened because the tax was reduced. If the tax had not been reduced, the cost of sugar might have risen from 135 to 170 rupees. Today its price stands at 115 rupees. The people have begun to receive the benefit of this gradually. The government has the right to change the tax rates for the benefit of the people. If someone is saying that it causes losses, we cannot accept that.
As a replacement for the former government, this government was appointed for corruption to take place from within. So we completely oppose it. We believe that action must be taken against those who are behind this. Whoever is named is irrelevant. One must act to one's position. The more they tried to cover the bond scam, the more attention it gathered. The public is not dumbfounded. The people will realize who the thieves are and who's against the thieves. A government could be stronger or collapse due to this. During a conference held in Nawalapitia today, leader of the Janata Vimukti Peramana, Anukumara Sanayaka, expressed his views about the sugar scam.
Article බදු අඩු කරන්න පුළුවන් වැඩි කරන්න පුළුවන් කියලා. හැබැයි අනිත් හැම එකකම බදු වැඩි කරනකොට ආනයන සීමා.
The Treasury Secretary says taxes can be amended by either increasing or decreasing them, but against a backdrop where restrictions are being imposed to curtail non-essential imports and overall efforts are being initiated to reduce import expenditure, why did they reduce the special commodity levy on sugar to 25 cents? Doesn't this seem like an unusual move? Who imported sugar to Sri Lanka and benefited from the tax reduction? It was Sajad Mauzoon of an organization named Pyramid Vilma. He is also the owner of the Shangri-La Hotel. He allowed the Vietmaga movement to hold meetings at the Shangri-La Hotel at a low price. Sajad Mauzoon is always present at meetings held at the Presidential Secretariat. Never a day has Sri Lanka imported 320,000 tons of sugar within a period of 2 months. More than 1/3 of the imports were brought down by Vilma. The government has lost 15.9 billion rupees in tax revenue because of the reduction in the sugar tax. If the government reduces a tax, the benefit should be passed on to the general public. But in this case, neither the public nor the government benefited from anything. The close associates of the government were the only ones who benefited from the entire transaction.
Who are these racketeers? These racketeers are part of the government. These racketeers were allowed to import oil to the country. They earned 750 million as a result of these imports. These racketeers were allowed to manage the Shangri-La Hotel as well. According to the Finance Ministry, the government had lost out on revenue worth 15.9 billion rupees. A black week for sugar has to be declared for this massive scam in Sri Lanka's history. This was a scam committed intentionally to earn profits. Imagine the amount of concessions that could have been offered to the value of 15.9 billion rupees. This is what we call as daylight robberies.
daylight robberies කියලා.
A dose of Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine manufactured under the brand name Covishield in India has been priced at $5. This translates to roughly 1,000 rupees a dose. As such, the government will be able to purchase 15 million vaccines if it recovers the losses worth 15 billion rupees caused due to the reduction in the import levy on sugar. Aren't certain individuals lining their pockets using the funds that must ideally benefit the people of this country? Shouldn't a plan be prepared to recover the losses faced due to these improper moves?
The International Monetary Fund says that they are closely monitoring financial developments in Sri Lanka, including the recent swap facility with China. State Minister Ajit Niwad Cabral has expressed dismay over this statement.
Sri Lanka has made a $1.5 billion currency swap with China, and I wanted to ask what you think of that. It's portrayed as a way of Sri Lanka as being as resistant to an IMF program. India was requiring an IMF program of sort in order to go forward with them. Just what's your sense of that?
On Sri Lanka, just a reminder, the Extended Fund Programme with the IMF was approved in 2016. That expired last year, June 2020. We did receive a request from the Sri Lankan authorities for emergency financial support to help fight the COVID pandemic. The assessment of that support has taken longer than for other countries due to Sri Lanka's daunting economic challenges and high public debt. So we have sought but not reached understanding on how to fulfill the key requirements for what could be a rapid financing instrument, which would include policies to continue ensuring debt sustainability. To address the balance of payment challenges, including from the COVID-19 impact on tourism, and to preserve international reserves, indeed Sri Lanka has relied on import restrictions since last year and recently introduced additional measures such as a requirement to convert 25% of export proceeds. We continue to closely monitor these economic policy financial developments in Sri Lanka, including a recent agreement on a swap line with the People's Bank of China.
Meanwhile, State Minister of Money and Capital Market Ajit Niwad Cabral has responded to this, saying that the statement of the IMF on the Chinese swap facility is quite surprising. The State Minister says the request for COVID-19 assistance was made by the government from the IMF early last year at the time the COVID-19 pandemic started. But the IMF was dragging its feet in providing that facility. He adds, nevertheless, the government managed to effectively provide the necessary relief and support to the Sri Lankan people, as well as maintain a framework of sound macro fundamentals even without such financial support from the IMF.
Views on Sri Lanka's economy were expressed on the Mavathi Intellectual Dialogue aired on Sirasa TV last evening.
In my view, the issuance of international sovereign bonds, which commenced in 2007, is one of the main factors contributing to Sri Lanka's current economic crisis. The Sri Lankan government raised massive loans at commercial market rates with the issuance of ISBs. Unlike project loans, you do not have to monitor the disbursement of loan proceeds. Before issuing ISBs in the international market, the government obtained project loans. These loans were monitored to determine how the loan proceeds were put to use. The decision to issue ISBs was taken during Ajit Niwad Cabral's tenure as the governor of the central bank. After that, Sri Lanka continued to raise debt in the international market by issuing ISBs. A bulk of these loan proceeds were invested in non-tradable sectors such as roads and buildings. They were not invested in industries such as exports. If the loan proceeds were invested in the export sector, we could have increased our export income. This income could have been used to settle our loans and interest. But unfortunately, this was not how things happened. Although our debt increased, our export income and our foreign income did not improve. The debt we obtained was not invested in any productive sector. If we take the Hambantota port, for instance, or the Mattala International Airport, or the Lotus Tower in Colombo, none of these assets could generate any income to the country.
ඒවා අපිට බැරි වුණා එක්තරා ආකාරයකට විදේශ විනිමය ඉපෙය හැකි මාර්ග බවට පත් කරන්න.
අපේ සංචිත අඩුවක් තියෙනවනේ. ඒ සංචිත අඩුවදී අර කිව්වාගේ අපේ සංචිත තියෙන 4.8යි නම්
Sri Lanka's foreign reserves are deficit. Sri Lanka's foreign reserves currently stand at around 4.8 billion rupees. But on the other hand, our debt repayment amounts to more than 6 billion rupees. Due to this deficit, China or another foreign nation intervenes and agrees to financially support us in the event of a default. State Minister Cabral said that Sri Lanka is yet to request funds through the swap facility with China. The State Minister also says that Sri Lanka can obtain funds under the swap facility at any given point. So this is an agreement. The government is giving a clear signal to everyone that Sri Lanka will not seek assistance from the International Monetary Fund. Such a move will give misleading signals to everyone. They say they will not seek assistance because the World Bank and the IMF only provide financial assistance on a conditional basis. This is a very famous line of all politicians. China does not give out loans on any conditions. This situation is similar to obtaining loans from black market groups and obtaining secured loans from licensed banks. The black market dealer wants us to default on our loan payments and own our land and property. I am not sure why the government is hell-bent on not seeking assistance from the IMF, particularly against a backdrop where there are many accusations against China's policies on providing financial assistance to other countries. China is a country famous for its monetary commissions. So, agreeing to such transactions may be beneficial to various factions.
ඒ ගනුදෙනු තුළ විවිධ පාර්ශ්වයන්ට වාසි වෙනවා ඇති ඒක වෙන්න පුළුවන්.
The UN core group on Sri Lanka has submitted a resolution against the country following two significant changes to the UN Human Rights Council yesterday.
Line to submit resolutions at the ongoing 46th UN Human Rights Council sessions ended at 5:30 p.m. Sri Lankan time yesterday. The resolution against Sri Lanka, prepared by the UN core group led by the United Kingdom, had been submitted after making two significant changes from the initial draft. According to the resolution seen by Newsfirst, the sponsors have added a clause calling on Sri Lanka to fulfill its commitments on the devolution of political authority. The sponsors have drawn emphasis on the Northern Provincial Council while calling on Sri Lanka to conduct elections and ensure the operations of provincial councils. Meanwhile, the core group has also inserted a paragraph requesting the UN Human Rights Chief to present an oral update on Sri Lanka at the 48th UN Human Rights Council sessions. The initial draft of the resolution had only called on the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights to table a written statement on Sri Lanka at the 49th UN Human Rights Council sessions. Concerns have arisen over Sri Lanka's stance on the military government of Myanmar that usurped power following a coup last month. This was after Foreign Minister Dinesh Gunawardena had invited the Foreign Minister of Myanmar's military junta for an upcoming BIMSTEC meeting.
The meeting will be held virtually on the 1st of April. No one will be present in person at the meeting. The list of speakers has not been finalized as well. The letter was sent based on a decision made 2 months ago to invite all the relevant countries. There is no other motive beyond that.
The Sinhala Arabia organization staged a protest opposite the Myanmar embassy in Colombo, opposing Sri Lanka's decision to invite Myanmar's military government to the BIMSTEC meeting.
I mean, the Sri Lanka government foreign policy, it is unacceptable, you know. All the military hunters, they already killed our people, more than 70, since the 1st of February to right now. Within the 40 days, they already killed our people, more than 70, and then they arrested 2,000 people. So it is unacceptable, and they are illegal. So we have a democratically elected government, and that we call CRPA. So instead of inviting the military junta foreign minister, instead that they should invite our democratically elected government representative.
The lives of more than 500 Sri Lankans in Myanmar have been threatened after the letter had been sent. The civil disobedience movement is staging nationwide protests. If the Sri Lankans living there are harmed, the Foreign Relations Ministry must bear responsibility over this.
විදේශ කටයුතු අමාත්‍යාංශය සම්පූර්ණයෙන් වගකීම් බාරගත යුතුයි.
හමුදා ජුන්ටාව අනුමත කිරීමක් තමයි. The invitation extended to the foreign minister of the military terrorist government implies a sign of support to the military junta. This is a severe offence. All Asian countries have opposed this as well. We call on the foreign ministry to cancel this invitation.
Sri Lanka has responded to the sale of non-slip doormats bearing the Sri Lanka flag on global e-commerce platform Amazon in the recent days.
The sale of non-slip doormats bearing the Sri Lanka flag on global e-commerce platform Amazon for $12 has been circulating widely on social media platforms in recent days. Issuing a statement, the Foreign Ministry said that Foreign Secretary Professor Jainath Kolumbage has brought this matter to the attention of the Chinese embassy in Colombo. He has informed the Sri Lankan embassy in China to contact the Chinese manufacturer of the doormat and instruct the Sri Lanka embassy in the US to follow up the matter with Amazon. The incumbent government rode to power using the lion flag of our country. If a Chinese manufacturer is printing the Sri Lankan flag on doormats within 1.5 years since the government came to power, we will have to deal with it differently with the Chinese embassy. China contractors are constructing our roads. Therefore, we will have to change how we deal with them. If there are attempts to tarnish the country's sovereignty, freedom and prestige, then the government must take immediate measures to halt that. The current rulers must not ignore this.
The government can't cover up the bond scam anymore. The government tries to portray this problem with a flag or with race. We can see that attention on social media has been drawn to that flag and doormat. Must we say anything else? Were we the ones who let the Chinese use it as a doormat? Don't try to cover up this scam with a doormat. It has been a long time since the people saw through this, guys. The perpetrators behind the sugar scam must be revealed to the nation. Don't let them hide this scam under the doormat.
Indian High Commissioner Gopal Bagle visited Jaffna today as part of his visit to the northern region of the country.
Indian High Commissioner Gopal Bagle, accompanied by a team of officials, visited the Jaffna Cultural Centre, which is being constructed with India's financial assistance. High Commissioner Bagle later visited the Jaffna Public Library before participating in a discussion with the Jaffna Mayor Pushpalingam Manivannan. The Indian High Commissioner then commenced his visit to the northern region by engaging in religious observances at the Tirukethiswaram temple in Mana. The team of Indian envoys observed the construction of a facility at the Tirukethiswaram temple that is being carried out using funds worth 320 million rupees provided by the Indian government. Officials, including the Indian High Commissioner, then visited the Adams Bridge in the country's northern region. They had then engaged in a special religious observance in the area.
In India's relationship with Sri Lanka, development cooperation forms a very important part because it directly affects the people. We are always guided by the requirements of Sri Lanka, of its people, and today, as the world tries to recover from COVID-19 pandemic, when we try to develop more strength in the economy, we will continue to work even more closely with the government of Sri Lanka so that our countries, the bonds of friendship of our countries, benefit the people.
India is one of the most visited countries by Sri Lankans. Due to the current COVID situation, the tourists from India to Sri Lanka have stopped coming. Therefore, the Indian High Commission has suggested an air travel bubble as an alternative, to which we have also expressed our agreement. We look forward to launching tourism between the two countries soon through this travel bubble. We are also in the process of launching domestic flight to Ratmalana, Jaffna and Batticaloa. Our goal is to develop the Jaffna and Batticaloa airports as international airports. We appreciate the Indian support in the development of Jaffna Airport. We are also focusing on resuming direct flight between Jaffna and Chennai, which have been suspended due to the COVID pandemic.
The Pakistani High Commission has provided a clarification regarding the incident at Independence Square with a gathering of people seen with Pakistan flags.
Issuing a statement, the High Commission says that the gathering was a rehearsal in connection with the upcoming Pakistan Day arranged by the Pakistan High Commission, and it had nothing to do with the gathering already going on there. The High Commission, however, noted the same rehearsal was rescheduled due to a prior occupancy of the Independence Square.
The refurbished wholesale section of the Paliagura Fish Market was opened today.
The event was held under the patronage of Basil Rajapaksa, chairman of the Presidential Task Force on Economic Revival and Poverty Eradication. I'm glad that we are reopening this market for the wholesale operations. We are giving our fullest support to the Ministry of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources to turn this market to the main fish market.
Various views were expressed in response to remarks that Basil Rajapaksa must be nominated as the next presidential candidate of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna.
It should be a collective decision. There are about 18 constituent parties. Therefore, all these parties that belong to the Sri Lanka Nidahas Podujana Sandhane must arrive at a decision on this. Let us wait and see as to what happens. There is no point of discussing something concerning 2024 in 2021. Politics is like weather. The nature of it changes often. There are several leaders to choose from. Gotabaya Rajapaksa has been in power only for 1.5 years. He has spent only 1.5 years in office out of his 10-year term. He can remain in this position for 8.5 years. We have a plan until 2030. Let us decide on our next presidential candidate after 2030.
While political struggles continue to figure prominently, the people of this country continue to battle with life. Wild elephant attacks claimed 3 lives today, underscoring the need to resolve the long-standing problem. Newsfirst has continued to report extensively on this problem as it poses a risk to both elephants and humans. However, the problem continues to evade the eye of authorities.
Several villages in Puttalam have been suffering due to the constant threat of encroaching wild elephants for nearly 3 decades. A 55-year-old father of 2 was the latest casualty for this long-standing problem in Kalladia this morning. The frustrated villagers took to the streets upon hearing the death of the man. The police were unable to bring the situation under control. The protest obstructed vehicular movement along the Puttalam-Kurunegala main road and also the by-roads in the area. State Minister of Foreign Employment Promotion Priyanka Rajaratne arrived at the location at the time of the protest. The Additional Director of Wildlife in the Puttalam district also arrived in the area. The protesters dispersed following an undertaking that an exercise would be launched to drive away the elephants today. The remains of the deceased father of 2 lie at the Puttalam Base Hospital. A father of 3 in Kabitigollava, Lunu Atulava, was among those who lost their lives due to wild elephant attacks in the country. The deceased was a 61-year-old farmer who had been attacked by a wild elephant while guarding his fields. Villagers say that officials have failed to provide a solution to this long-standing problem. A 69-year-old had also succumbed to a wild elephant attack in the Kottawadi area in Mannar today. The attack had occurred along a main road in the area.
Much like humans, elephants too lose their lives due to the human-elephant conflict. A wild elephant had died after getting electrocuted in the Sorobora Vaugampaha village in Mahianganaya. A woman in the neighborhood has been apprehended with regard to the incident.
Our houses get destroyed, but a solution is never given. My children have been starving since morning. I took my daughter and came back in the morning with no idea of this. I wasn't able to come back in time after providing statements. My 2 children had nothing to eat. This happens every day.
හැමදාම මේ වැඩේ කරන්නේ අලි වැටක් ගහනවා කියලා බොරුවට අද හේත්ති කරනවා හෙට හේත්ති කරනවා ඒක කඩාද මහත්තයා එනකොට අලි 7 දෙනා එළු මේකේ එයාලා වෙඩි ගහලා ඒ නංගිගේ තාත්තත් එක්ක එකතු වෙලා වෙඩි ගහලා එලවලා තමයි ගෙදර ආවේ.
The villagers pointed out that the malfunctioned electric fence has been put in place again within a few hours after the incident.
මේ අලිවට සම්පූර්ණයෙන් පෙරලා තිබෙන්නේ බිම තිබ්බේ දැන් උදේ පාන්දරේ කරන් දුවගෙන ආවත් බඩ බිරි ගාලා මෙතන ඉන්න ගමන් කට්ටිය බඩ ගාලා වැට හිටවන්න ගියා.
මාධ්‍යෙන් එනවා කියලා දන්නවා. ඒ නිසා තමයි මේ ටික හදලා ගිහින් තියෙන්නේ. ඔයගොල්ලන්ට පුළුවන් නම් මේ වැට දිගටම යන්න හදලා නැහැ. බොරු වැඩක් මේ කරන්නේ රංගපෑමක්.
These area residents lament that they never receive a permanent solution to this problem.
The Mahasangha has apprised the president on obstacles of holding peraharas due to the shortage of tamed elephants. According to the president's media division, a meeting chaired by President Gotabaya Rajapaksa to discuss this issue was held at the presidential secretariat this morning. The discussion focused on the various obstacles faced when finding tamed elephants for the Asalamaha Perahara and other historic peraharas taking place across the island. It was pointed out that during the 1980s that there were approximately 300 to 350 tamed elephants in the country. However, there are only 107 tamed elephants at present, out of which 80 are above 50 years of age. According to the President's media division, the President had instructed the officials to discuss matters with the owners of the elephants when drafting guidelines for the regulation and conservation of tamed elephants.
When will the political authorities start listening to the problems of the people? It seems that no matter which political force comes to power, the problems of the people will continue to be ignored. Even today, there are hundreds of villagers in Sri Lanka suffering without clean drinking water, and this is one such report from Nikavaratia.
The locals of Siambalavawa, Ratmalvatia and the Vandurasegama villages of the Nikavaratia Divisional Secretariat have been suffering for years without clean drinking water. During the rainy season, these locals consume the rainwater, but when there is no rain, they are compelled to drink the muddy water they obtain from the ground.
ඉතින් අපි මේ පතහෙන් තමයි බොන්න ගන්නේ නාන්න ගන්නේ টয়ලට් එකට ගන්න උයන්ද පියන්ද හැම එකටම. ඉතින් අපිට මේ දත් වල කහට අල්ලලා ළමගේ වකුගඩු අමාරුව ඒ අසනීප තත්ත්වයක් තියෙන හින්දා ඔබතුමාලාට බුදුබව ලැබෙනවා. අපිට මේ ප්‍රාණීය ජලයේ ප්‍රශ්නේ විඳලා දෙන්න කියලා තමයි බැගාපත්ව ඉල්ලා සිටින්නේ. එදා ඉඳලම නෑ වතෝ. ජල ව්‍යාපෘතියට අපිට වැඩක් නෑ මොකවත් නෑ වුණා.
අවුරුදු ගාණක් තිස්සේ මේ ගැටලුව අපි හැම බලධාරියෙකුටම කියනවා. නමුත් කිසිම මේ වෙනකන් කිසිම ප්‍රතිඵලයක් අපිට ලැබිලා නෑ.
The area is struggling to cope with the increase in kidney patients.
වකුගඩු සම්බන්ධ තමයි අවුරුදු දෙකක් විතර දැන් බෙහෙත් බොනවා. අපිට ඒ වතුරෙන් තමයි අපහසු වතුරෙන් තමයි මේ දේ සිද්ධ වුනේ.
The Kurunegala district office of the Department of National Community Water Supply had set up a village committee last year to address the drinking water problem in the area.
හැම සමාජිකයන් අපි රුපියල් 10 ගාන එකතු කරා. අවුරුදු එකමාරක් වෙනකන් කිසිම මෙනුම් කටයුත්තක් කරන්න මේ ස්ථානෙට ආවේ නැහැ. මාත්‍යා දැන් අපි දැන් අවුරුදු එකමාරක් විතරගේ සමිතිය පීඨවල ඔබතුමාලා එනවා කියනවා එන්නේ නැණි මයින්ද. අපිට වැඩේ වෙන් වෙන්න ඕන. ඔව් දැන් මාත්‍යා කොතනද නතර වෙලා තියෙන්නේ අපිට කියන්න පුළුවන් මේ ගමේ. නතර වෙච්ච තැනක් නැහැ. දැන් සල්ලි මේ අවුරුද්දේ ගැට දාලා තියෙනවා. ඔව්. ඒ නිසා මේ අවුරුද්දේ මනිනවා. ඔව්. දැන් ඒක නිසා මේ සල්ලි ආපු වෙලාවෙ ටිකක් කලබල නොකර ඉන්න. ඔව් කලබල කරන්නේ මාත්‍යා මේමයි. ඉතින් අපි ඉල්ලන්නේ ඔබතුමාලාගෙන් බොන්න වතුර. අපි කාටද කියන්න කෙනෙක් නැහැ.
Villagers say they will die of thirst as a result of being deceived by the false promises of officials.
With that, we wrap up Primetime News. I'm Bernadine Jayasinghe, and the interpreter for tonight is Taraka Gabriel. Good night. Take care.